in terms of Steve, this is around the time when I guess he was expected to make a decision. Everything I've kind of been hearing of late is turned toward the expectation of him staying. I'd actually be surprised not to see Steve not on the sideline next year, but ultimately it's not done yet. But the fact that you're still having conversations tells me you're trying to work something out.
Hello today, Mark. How you doing, my man?
Oh, man, I'm enjoying being home for a little bit. Been traveling all around. Was in Toronto over the weekend and Cleveland, and playoffs are getting crazier and crazier, man. I would have never guessed that Boston would be out, Denver would be out this soon, and San Antonio losing their first one. This is about as interesting a playoffs this early as I've seen.
First round was definitely one to remember, but of course, here in the Bay, what's the biggest story? We can have as crazy of a first round as we want, but it doesn't matter if the Draymond Green show says something interesting. So, it's a little bit of a two-piece, Mark. What did you make of both his compliments of Steve Kerr, but then his comments with regard to being hindered, and then, of course, what has happened since then, which is a basketball rap battle between Draymond and Austin Rivers?
Well, on the first one, I think if you reach out to any former player on any level, they'll always say something that the coach could have did to help them out more, right? And maybe they should be more accountable on what they could do better.
Yeah,
because you only hear that one side. But I did talk to Draymond's camp, and I was like, all right, what's going on, man? What's the deal? Is there any issue between him and Steve? And he said that, no, Draymond and Steve are great. And he's like, they took a 10-second snippet of a 4-minute segment of him saying how important Steve was to his career and how much he has learned from him. And every basketball player everywhere has some type of gripe with their coach. But he said that it was just one gripe, and that Draymond has high esteem for Steve Kerr and what he's done for him. And then in terms of the other one, it's funny because I've known Draymond since he walked in the door here, and I've known Austin Rivers since he was literally a little boy. When I covered the Boston Celtics from 2007 to 2009, Austin was around, and he was in high school, and I kept hearing that he was pretty good, and Doc Rivers was taking off when he can to go watch Austin play, and obviously ended up being a McDonald's All-American and then going to Duke. And like his father, Austin has a lot of personality. And then Austin, like Draymond, is trying to make his way in the podcast world, right? And say something interesting to get the clicks and get interest and stay relevant. You can't have a podcast without saying anything, right? Just like y'all radio show. If y'all just sat there and just, yeah, that's nice, and I agree, and nobody would listen, right? So, Austin is certainly saying a lot of stuff, but Draymond's camp on Austin said, Austin Rivers said a bunch of ifs, what ifs, this happened, what if this happened? We live in a fact-based business. The facts are facts, not what ifs. So that's their response to, I think, the last response to Austin Rivers.
Yeah, and that's...
And I like them both guys. I like them dearly, man, both of those guys. So
I mean, it's tough, though.
Hopefully they'll hug and kumbaya, and it is just like, it's just entertaining, right?
Well, they will cross paths because Austin's married to Steph's sister, right? So, I'm sure there'll be some function where maybe it's a Curry housewarming or something, and, people might get together. But if you're Austin, don't you need to realize that you're messing with, the number one chief talker maybe in the history of the association?
No, Seth is married to Callie Rivers.
My bad. Yeah, I had that one wrong. I knew that there was some Curry connection, but... I don't know.
The other big issue that seems to be dragging on too long for the tastes of some. Mark, Steve Kerr was at the Giants game here just this afternoon. He watched the Giants lose again. That's obviously right down the street from Chase Center. So he's here. They're talking. What's going on, Mark?
I'm hearing that in terms of Steve, this is around the time when I guess he was expected to make a decision. I think the good thing is he's watching the Padres play in San Francisco and not San Diego.
Okay.
If he's watching the Padres play in San Diego, then that probably means that he's on his way out. But everything I've kind of been hearing of late is turned toward the expectation of him staying. like Doc Rivers said goodbye several weeks ago. The coach of the Bulls said goodbye a couple weeks ago, right? So if he wanted to leave, why wouldn't he have just done that already? So, I mean, I know my main employer, as I'm hearing, has reached out to him. And obviously, I would love to be a coworker of Steve's, but my expectation is, as I was with Bob for a little bit,
right?
My expectation is I'd actually be surprised not to see Steve not on the sideline next year. But ultimately, it's not done yet. But the fact that you're still having conversations tells me you're trying to work something out.
And another one of your coworkers, Brian Windhorst, intimated that money might be a sticking point because you're not really a title contender. And so what you made before as Steve Kerr maybe doesn't match up with where your team is now. Do you think that that could actually be something that is lingering?
I would guess that Steve's making somewhere, we'll have to make somewhere in the $15 to $20 million range, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't give Eric Spoelstra a pay cut. What did he do in the playoffs?
Right.
Yeah, true.
How much is Eric Spoelstra making? So I can't see Steve not getting what is amongst the top 5 salary getters in this league. And I think that probably for him starts at around 15 plus million, right?
I mean, Mark, does that even sound like the Warriors to you? We know the Warriors. We know how they treat the players and their families and the staff on the road and all that. Does that even make sense to you that the Warriors would be like, Steve, we're gonna need to talk about a pay cut here?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to beat up my coworker and say he's wrong, right? But I'll just say I can't. For fair value for Steve, that's top 5 in the league.
Yep.
I don't see anywhere around it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, that doesn't. It just a lot of this, like I said, seems like marital counseling. It's just weird verbiage to me. But hey, you negotiate, and as one I think Peja Stojakovic told me once, you negotiate as hard as you can, and then once you sign. No, Pau Gasol told me this. He said you negotiate as hard as you can because once you sign, it's over.
Fair enough.
You're getting what you're getting.
Fair enough.
So, I might bluff and hold my cards and say this and that and the third, but when it's all said and done, at some point you got to fold the cards and give your best offer on both sides.
Mother's Day this weekend, draft lottery. You've told us before.
I got to make a call for my mom. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah, you got it, man. Don't forget about that.
Wanted a reservation in New Orleans somewhere. So
okay,
I got to hook her up.
All right, as soon as we're done, I'll text you. Don't forget. Call New Orleans. Anyway, also this Sunday, draft lottery. And you've told us that the draft is 15 people deep, and the Warriors will have one of those picks. Before we get into what they may do with it, because we've got time to kind of break that down, I'm curious your response to this. Whatever pick it is it available in trade talks?
You always got it. You got to also always consider all options, right? Why not? But I do think what I'm wondering is more available for the Warriors is, do you draft for tomorrow or you draft for the future? Because I do think that some of the players that are going to be available to them are going to have bigger impact in 3 years, maybe all-star impact in 3 years. Then there's a couple guys that I think could help them right now. When I look at the draft board, like Nate Ament from Tennessee. Will Nate Ament be there? It's possible. There's always a surprise player that drops that you don't expect to drop. I think Nate Ament is potential star in the league, but in like 3 or 4 years. Mikael Brown Jr., if he drops, this kid can score in his sleep. He's a Donovan Mitchell protege, and he had some back issues, but he dropped 45, I believe, on NC State. That's not something normal for a freshman. And I think if he didn't have the back issues during his freshman season, he potentially could have been a top 5 pick. So I think he's a steal. Arizona fans, you guys know about Brandon Burries. He could be sitting there as well. Another guy I think's probably about 2 or 3 years away from really being a strong contributor, But then there's a couple other guys I think that are interesting. Karim Lopez. For my Mexican brothers and sisters in the Bay Area, boy, oh boy, it could be an exciting time if you get Karim Lopez. I covered Eduardo Nájera. He's the greatest player in Mexican history. This could be the first time that the NBA drafts a Mexican native player in the lottery. Karim Lopez played for the New Zealand Breakers. Very interesting, Scottie Pippen kind of like player because he played professionally in New Zealand against grown men. I do think he could help right now. I think he'd be a very solid, interesting pickup. Also would sell a lot of jerseys in the Bay if there's a Lopez on the back of a Warriors jersey. But then there's another kid, Yaxel Lendenberg from Michigan. Big fella, 6'9", Dominican kid. I think he could come in and help right now. When you see what some of the bigs like Bassie did at the end of the season for the Warriors, I think he could do more than that. He's somebody that can help. And then the other big kid at Michigan, he may be there already as well, too. He's 7'3", Ade Mara. I believe he's a French kid. So I say all that to say there's going to be talent that could help the Warriors now. There could be talent that could be star talent, developed into star talent for the Warriors in the future. So this is a draft where I say you learn how good your scouts are. I want to know everything about all these guys. I could see the Warriors bringing in 10 different guys for that pick if they keep the pick. And then there's also the possibility that they could get a stroke of luck like, Dallas and Atlanta and get in that, that top three. Mm-hmm. We'll see early in the draft. I'll be at the draft lottery if they jump up. I'm not sure who's going there for the Warriors, but I do think even if they don't hit the lottery, so to speak, and I don't expect them to, there will be a good player there available, and I don't think they should trade it.